AI-proof your business with today's special amazing guest, Brian Childress, on today's episode of the Artificial Intelligence Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by the bestseller ChatGPT Profits. This book is the missing instruction manual to get you up and running with ChatGPT in a matter of minutes. As a special gift, you can get it absolutely free at artificialintelligencepod.com/gift or at the link right below this episode. Make sure to grab your copy before it goes back up to full price. Are you tired of dealing with your boss? Do you feel underpaid and underappreciated? If you want to make it online, fire your boss, and start living your retirement dreams now, then you come to the right place. Welcome to the Artificial Intelligence Podcast Show, where you will learn how to use artificial intelligence to open new revenue streams and make money while you sleep. Presented live from a tropical island in the South Pacific by best-selling author Jonathan Green. Now, here's your host. Now, Brian, I'm really excited to have you here. It's awesome to have an amazing fractional CTO. I have so many questions about fractional, so many questions about CTO, and of course, we're going to dive into AI-proof in your business. But I want to get people excited. What are they going to learn over the next 20 or 30 minutes as we chat together from your unique experience? Why should they be so excited about today's episode? Tell them what you're going to bring.
AI is just absolutely everywhere. And one of the biggest concerns that I have in working with a lot of my different clients is they're worried that their business could be completely wiped out by AI. And they're really concerned about not just how do I integrate it into my business, but how do I make sure I still have a business in 5 or 10 years? And so that really has changed the trajectory of how we think about our strategy.
That's amazing because so many people, and this is something that I deal with a lot as an AI consultant, people think that I want AI in everything. And I'm the exact opposite. I don't have anything in my house that listens to me. I don't have any of those devices when I'm not working. And there's a lot of things I don't want AI inside of. Like they started putting AI inside of my project manager. I was like, I don't want an AI coming up with tasks for me. That's not what I want. So I think this is a really interesting direction because there's so much AI positivity. And a lot of people say things like, oh, if your company's not using AI, then you're a bunch of dum-dums and you're making a huge mistake. But not every problem, the solution's not always AI. Like it's good, it's a tool, but I think that there's so much hype and there's so much power in the news cycle. And I think that we're having very similar to when they said internet will solve every problem in the late 1990s. You're going to order your dog food on the internet. You're going to order toilet paper on the internet. And maybe some people do now, but there's this hype bubble that then burst and we start to come back to reality. And hopefully over the next 2 or 3 years, we will. So I really want to dive into this core idea, which is let's get to this. Why do people think that AI is going to replace their businesses? And is this every business or just in certain specific sectors? Because I'm very used to people who think they're going to lose their jobs to AI, but thinking about an entire business, this is very new and very interesting to me.
I think there are certain sectors, especially in, say, creative arenas, that are really concerned. And we've seen a lot. Take, for example, any of the movie or television industry. They've been seriously impacted by AI because of the ability to use it for creative endeavors. So I think those arenas certainly are going to be impacted. Any businesses that work with service organizations are going to be impacted by AI. I do a lot with B2B SaaS software, and I look into a lot of the platforms that help the service industry, say plumbing, electrical, HVAC. And those areas, the software that those companies are using are absolutely impacting. And in many ways, it's being impacted for good. A lot of the things that small organizations just weren't able to do, an AI platform or agent is now able to help them answer calls and respond to customer feedback and ratings and reviews just much more effectively. So their business is improving. So I think it's one of those things, we'll see it throughout, and we may not even recognize where AI is having an impact in our business and in our lives.
A lot of people think that the best use case for AI is creating content, writing your blog posts, writing your articles, writing your social media content, responding to your email. I'm a big believer that those are the worst use cases because every one of those is the chance for someone to get to know you. And there's this feeling people have when they say, oh, I really love that article. And you go, oh, I didn't write that. AI wrote that. Then they feel like you've tricked them. And that's the fastest way to make someone hate you is to trick them. That's our natural response is, oh, I liked you, but you tricked me. Now I hate you. You don't go back to neutral. And I'm a big believer that the really big value, as you're trying to mention, is organizing your schedule, taking care of repetitive tasks, things that are not as important. The customer facing thing, and a lot of people are really excited. For example, there's so many people excited by like an AI that can do phone calls. And I just think of all the different ways that can be massively misused, whether it's pretending you're someone else and calling their bank, all the way up to someone thinking they're talking to a person. Because every time I talk to a company and my clients, I say, okay, they want a customer service chatbot. That's what gets people really excited. I go, oh, that's amazing. Will this chatbot have the ability to issue refunds or to send someone a replacement part? No, of course not. I would never. I was like, so you trust it with the customer's money, but not your own. So when you get on the phone with it, like when I get on the phone with when I'm talking to a chatbot on a computer, I know it can never solve my problem because I know it doesn't have the power to issue refunds. So it doesn't have that power a human would. So that always means if I have a real problem, I have to get through this. Just like when you're hitting the buttons on a phone tree to try to get to a person. So adding another AI layer, it really worries me that people think those are the big use cases. Whereas I completely understand, like, yeah, keeping track of reviews, keeping track of data coming in, organizing data, analytics, helping you figure out who to respond to, noticing when you have a customer complaint appear on a website you haven't been paying attention to so you can fix that quickly. That's really cool. And I think that's a very interesting use case. But so often we're caught up in the luster. Like everyone loves to talk about AI video. And I always say, how many videos did you make last year? None. Why do you care about AI video? Why would you make any this year if you didn't do it last year? And I think that the core business for most businesses isn't going to change as much as people think. Certainly not as much as the hype is, because most of the hype is about things that are not useful but exciting. And most of the things that are really valuable are really boring, and they're just slightly better improvements of things that already exist. We already have tools that help you organize your email. Now they're just a little better. We have tools that can help you organize files and project managers. And now all those things exist. But I think that you brought up, which was really cool, and one of my favorite things is that we've seen a downward pressure on pricing, because a lot of companies, once they grab market share, they just spike those prices, right? Everyone thinks they need to have Salesforce. Everyone thinks they need to have these really expensive tools. And that could be really tough for a smaller company that only has 5 employees. So they need a way to grow. And now I've seen my overhead's gone down about 90% in the past 2 years because ChatGPT, OpenAI set the standard at this $20 a month price point. All these other tools I was using that were $200 or $300 a month go, oh, we're going to lose all of our customers if we don't drop our price. And I see that as a really good thing for the consumer because it just shows you how high margin these SaaS companies actually are. And that has me really excited because now smaller companies have access to tools that allow them to compete with larger companies without a massive budget.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely huge. We're seeing an equal playing field in a lot of arenas across many different industries. And it's never been easier to create a business. It's never been easier to scale a business. And a lot of these tools, like you say, maybe a few $100s worth of different subscriptions. I am up and running and I have a 6-figure business pretty easily. And I think that's amazing, certainly for the consumer to have more optionality out there.
And there's this idea that the biggest companies have the biggest advantage, but the advantage of a smaller company is the decision-making cycle. When you look at how long a government contract takes, or a hospital has a 3-year buying cycle, or a university. If a university makes a decision about AI right now, and they said, oh, we're going to implement this in 2027, it's not going to be good anymore. It's like too long of a cycle. So smaller companies have this really big advantage of agility, but they used to not be able to compete as far as really big tools and enterprise contracts. And now they have agility and the ability to compete. I think that's what's getting really interesting. I think we're going to see a lot more fracturing of markets where smaller tools are able to capture market share, and we're going to see a lot more entrepreneurship. So those things have me really excited. Now, you brought up something really interesting to me as well, which is the creative space. There's this idea that, and we're seeing it a little bit, like movies, they're trying to, and the hard part is that they never tell you when a movie script was written by AI. You just have to guess. You just have to watch Wish and go, I'm pretty sure this was ChatGPT because this is not very good. It feels like ChatGPT. You keep seeing those words you see all the time. Do you think that that's going to last? I feel like we've seen a major dip in quality. Every time they try and make an AI movie, the quality is so low. And whenever I see like an artist generate an AI image compared to anything I can create, you can tell right away there's a difference. You can just see their skill. When I see people making AI movies that have movie experience, they're so much better because they understand storyboarding and structure. Do you think that AIs will eventually catch up to that and actually be able to write super high quality movies or create movies in real time. That's stuff people talk about. I'm not sure why that's so interesting, but do you think the direction entertainment will go? And I wonder if that will lead to a shift of people going to live performances for that exact reason. Like concerts in the late 90s when music, Napster went everywhere. What happened? Concerts became much, much more popular. Musicians make their money from touring now rather than from selling albums. Do you see a possible shift to live performance or other ways the market will shift where creative people can still thrive, but maybe there's just a slight shift in modality?
I really think that there will be. And if we look at the human condition, we're drawn to connecting with others. And a live performance is a perfect example of that. I am much more likely to spend an increased amount of money to go to a play or a concert than I would have been maybe even a few years ago, because I feel like all I'm doing is engaging with some sort of digital product all day long. I need that other human connection, that creativity, that thing that makes us human. And so I really do think we'll see, I don't know, maybe even a seismic shift in the ways that we're doing that. And for any of us that might be in creative businesses or endeavors, we'll likely just start to see more people wanting to really show their authenticity and their creativity. And maybe they're using a ChatGPT to superpower a lot of that work. But at the end of the day, we're going to see a big push towards, I want to really show and give my voice to this thing.
Because I see a lot in movie marketing. Every single movie now says no CGI, and no visual effects. And it's never true, right? Like I watched the new Top Gun. They said, oh, there's no CGI. And it was like 95% CGI.
Oh, wow.
Like they were like, we flew real planes, but the planes in the movie are not the planes they flew. So every single plane is a replacement. Like every single plane in the movie is not the plane they flew. And that's fine. The movie is still great. I don't know why there's this I think it's because we don't like bad visual effects, just like we don't like bad AI experiences. There's plenty of times that AI is useful or helpful and can do cool things, but it's the bad that causes us to go, I don't like it. And what I see possibly happening is a shift, like you mentioned, towards authenticity. Like we want to see things in person, which again could lead to, it actually could mean that a market that right now is centralized in Hollywood suddenly becomes dispersed and now there's more writers with work and more plays everywhere. So actually more actors are making money, even if each individual, the people at the top make less, but everyone across the board actually sees an increase because the face-to-face is like the only way you know you're talking to a real person. Because eventually when you talk on a computer, you don't know it's a Zoom call, it's a bot, or it's an AI, all of that stuff. So the only way you know is like by talking to a person or holding their hand to know that it's a real person. So suddenly I actually hope that it leads to a shift and a decrease in social media and an increase in person-to-person communication. So I do see some positives. Now, for businesses that are trying to figure out how to make the right move, there's these two forces that are fighting against each other right now. The first is you have to do AI, you have to keep up. And the second force is, what if I choose the wrong tool? And I feel like my industry, the AI consultant, the AI analyst are like the people the most guilty because we go, listen, you need to be using ChatGPT 4. And we go, hey, listen, it's all about Claude 3.5. If you're using ChatGPT 4, you're a dummy, right? And then it's like, no, you need to use ChatGPT 5. Oh, wait, it's not ChatGPT 5. It's going to be called Strawberry. And I hope not. That's a dumb name. Like we're going to do the thing like Android did where it was KitKat and Oreo and then it's cat. Like we're jumping names around. And for someone who wants to take that first step with their company, there's two things. I need to make a decision, but I don't want to make the wrong decision. And most people don't even know what AI means. Like we don't have universal definitions because AI used to mean sentient computer. ChatGPT is not sentient, right? Now it doesn't mean that. Now they go, oh, AGI means sentient or strong AI means sentient. And because we have shifting definitions for a layperson who's, I just want to use a tool that works. Where do you think people should start? What's the first step you should take as a company, as an approach?
For me, I always like to start with what is the business value? What is the problem that I'm trying to solve? And so when I'm talking with companies about bringing in some sort of AI so that they can keep pace with the industry, we start by looking at what are the things that we do every day. So each business is going to have some unique things that it does. Let's take a look at these specific tasks and then find an area that, hey, maybe we can streamline this particular process with some sort of AI tool. And because these subscriptions to a lot of these different tools are so inexpensive, let's try a few of them. And for me, the way I approach it is I'll sit down or with the person who does that job every day and says, really look at the tasks that they're doing and encourage them and work with them to bring in some of these tools and let's try this out. And it's a delicate dance, I think, because in those conversations is where it starts to feel like, oh, they're going to be replacing my job with this $20 tool. So now my salary is now a significant overhead. And so a big part of what I do too is try and alleviate a lot of that fear. We're not trying to replace you. We're trying to supercharge you. And we're trying to remove a lot of the mundaneness of the work that you do every day.
I think that that's a really critical differentiation because a lot of the AI marketing is like replace your employees, replace everyone. And whenever you see an unfettered AI result, it's bad, right? You let AI make a video that no one checks. Or anytime someone posts a social media post or puts an email and doesn't check it, eventually someone goes, this is terrible, right? You get caught and it causes problems. And I love that acceleration. I think that's so important to think, instead of thinking I'm going to replace my team, what if I could just make my team 50% more efficient? What if we could raise our profits 50%? Suddenly their salaries are not a problem anymore. I'm not feeling that downward pressure because they can just do more. I really think of AI as raising the floor. So if everyone is on a scale of 0 to 10, when you have AI, now everyone's on a scale of 2 to 12. People that are really skilled artists or really great at their jobs are still going to be better than beginners, but everyone is able to deliver something a little better. So I think that this fear, right? We have these two big fears. I'm going to lose my company. I'm going to lose my job here. Nobody wants to train their replacement, right? No one wants to develop the system for the tool that's going to replace them. And I think that it's a legitimate fear because of how much people like to promote AI as though it's as good as an employee or replace everyone and it's autonomous. And none of those things are true. I test the most cutting edge AI stuff all the time. Every time someone says something's autonomous, as soon as you take your eyes off it, it does something silly. Every time I see one of those videos with a robot, if the robot does anything like useful, I'm like, that's a man in a suit. that's a guy in a mask. And I saw a robot recently and the people were like, oh, I'm going to order that. I was like, why do you want a guy in your house wearing a mask? That is not a robot, right? It's too much of a jump in technology. I've never seen a robot that can pick up an egg, right? You show me a robot that can pick up your groceries, put them all in the refrigerator without destroying them. Now I'm afraid of robots, but we can't even do that. So the physical world is still definitely the realm of humans, but we have this two pushes of everyone wants to create hype to sell their product. But then on the other side, all the other people are like, I don't want to bring this product into the company because it could replace me. It could destroy my business. So there's these two kind of competing forces. Now, for what I really like that you brought up, and I think this is important, is that companies need to be problem solution first rather than buy a tool and figure out where to implement it. Like there's nothing worse than when your boss gets a visit from the good idea fairy and says, hey, we bought this new software. Figure out how to use it. Figure out how to justify what it costs. That's every tech person's nightmare, right? Like I get these questions all the time about certain AI tools. Someone's like, hey, what do you think of this tool? I'm like, it's terrible, or it's not really AI, or it's just a fake front end on top of ChatGPT for a 10 times markup. And it's really rough. It's bad enough telling that to someone before they buy it, but after they've bought it and they're telling you to implement it, now you have a hammer and you're in search of a nail. So I really like this core idea that you have, which is let's look at where we have lost time, inefficiencies. And if we focus on solving like employee boredom, right? How many people are bored at work? Almost everyone. If we can eliminate all the tasks that are boring and say, what if we just get rid of the boring stuff? You just get to do the fun stuff. We can also raise morale and we can actually cause a shift in the other direction. We're so busy thinking about the benefits for us at the top. We're thinking, oh, we can cut overhead. We can eliminate a few employees and we can raise our revenue. What about just making everyone also like coming to work again? Like I see a lot of people talking about going back to work, working in the office or working from home. And what if people what if you just made the office an enjoyable experience? What if people actually liked it there? Because there are positives to that. So I really think this is a very cool direction. And this is why I wanted to bring you on, because I know you have this really strong perspective and you've worked with so many clients, you've helped so many of these businesses from the chief technical officer perspective. There's one other thing I see happening, which is this current war between CTO and chief AI officer or AI officer, AI consultant. There's this idea that I hear this a lot and it's, CTOs are like stodgy. They see the solution. They see every problem as something you solve with Python. and that AI officers are like creative and visionaries, and they see everything, they solve everything with wisdom. And I don't see it that way. I see it as really, it's about a collaboration, right? So the chief technical officer really has a technical approach and they see how everything's working, but they also know, they know all the company's problems. They know all the things, moving parts. They know the tools they're using. Really, the value I see from AI consultants or people that are in the AI space is going, hey, here's everything cutting edge. Here's what tools can do. Here's what tools can't actually do, right? Let me just tell you here's all the problems that can actually be solved. And then the CTO can go, these are the problems we have. Let's test those tools. Now you actually can be collaborative. And I think that's the right direction for the future. Because it's like, I spend 3 to 4 hours every day just reading all the AI news, testing new tools. And a lot of what I do is separating the promise from the reality. It's like so many tools make these really big promises, or they don't even have AI. They just have a heuristic algorithm that fakes AI. I've run into that on quite a few big tools. And when you're making a big decision, when the companies have things on their sales page and make these promises that aren't really true, and you can't test it until after you invest, that's really not a place you want to be in. So I can understand the hesitation to jump into AI because we have an overhyped market. Everyone wants to say things like it's autonomous, it can do everything, it's a 24/7 employee, it's push a button, it makes you money, it's so magical. So I think that the next generation, hope this happens over the next years, we get rid of this idea that CTOs are boring and AI people are interesting, because I don't think that's really true. I think it's two ways of solving the same problem that should be collaborative rather than competitive, because I don't think AI experts are going to replace CTOs. I just don't think that's the future. And I don't know why there's this competitiveness in the space. What's your experience been of that mindset thing of how AI people talk?
Yeah, that hasn't been really my experience either. Now, I have definitely worked very closely with a number of different AI consultants, experts in the space that really have the experience and the accolades to back up what they're saying. And that's been a really powerful experience. They bring a lot of really valuable information and insights. And the most insightful ways that we collaborate and work together is always starting with, all right, what is the business problem that we're trying to solve? Because it's so easy for us to just bolt on some sort of AI. We check the box. Our board is now happy because we have AI integrated into the product. The developers are annoyed because now we have to support this thing that doesn't actually do anything, but we have to make sure this integration stays working all the time. So for me as a CTO, I always want to go back to how can we solve this business problem? And if there is an area that I don't have enough information on, let me bring in that expert. Let me bounce ideas off of that person and collaborate and work together, like you say.
Yeah, I like that mindset. I think that we've seen a lot of boards go to the CEO and say, we want AI. And then the CEO goes, okay, what do you mean? And they go, we don't know. We just know we want it, which is the scariest type of command. And this is something that a lot of freelancers experience all the time. Like designers, they go, I want a logo. What do you want it to look like? I don't know, but I'll know when I like it. What colors do you like? I don't know what colors I like. And it's like very hard without direction to know the right thing to do. And I've definitely seen this idea of, we just want AI so that we can say we have AI. And there's this temptation, and there's something, I always see this thing, whenever I see a product, there's always an inverse correlation between the commissions they offer to affiliates or joint venture partners and how good the product is. So whenever a product reaches out to me, they go, hey, we offer 50 or 75% commissions. I go, oh, it's got to be trash. That's my first thought. I said, if you can give away the majority of the money, there's something going on here. Like one of my favorite products to recommend, I recommend this tool I use all the time called Artflow. That's great for making AI images that look like your face for people that want to do thumbnails. And I do a lot of color books with my kids with that way. I make a nickel every time someone buys it through my affiliate link. That's how you know it's a good product. Like I don't make any money from it, but whenever a product comes with this huge offer, and it's very tempting, right? And that's one of the things I see. A lot of people are recommending tools that I go, oh man, I could never because I know how it works. I know there's a functionality problem. And in any market, you have this where there's commission-based things and things happening in the back end. There's sometimes these two pressures, right? This is the best tool, but this makes the most money. So we have this space where there's really a lack of language. We don't have a consistent meaning of what is AI, what is a GPT, what is an agent, what is an assistant. I talk to 5 AI people and they all give me different answers. No one has a clear definition. That's, I think, the biggest problem. It's the same reason creatives hate AI art. because we don't have a name for it. We can say painting, drawing, sculpting, but we don't have a word for someone who's making stuff with AI art. And they feel like it's not as authentic and it's not real. And it is a skill, but it's definitely different. Like drawing from scratch is a completely different skill, just like sculpting is. I think if we just took a moment and stopped the hype and said, let's just name everything, make a clear set of definitions so everyone's reading from the same music, so everyone knows what these things mean, so much of the confusion and the stress would just eliminate. I don't know why we don't do that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know. Maybe it's so that we can sell more tools that aren't actually valuable, but have really high profit margins. Keep the consumer confused.
Yeah, I encounter so many tools that are just basically a form, a prompt that's hidden inside the form, and it sends it to ChatGPT and they have a subscription. And I was actually writing about this today. I can reverse engineer any of those because I can put in 10 inputs, look at 10 outputs, and then figure out what's in the middle, right? Like it's an easy mathematical formula. But it's really common. And I think it's unfortunately going to create a backlash in the market when people start to realize, oh, this person is paying 6 cents a month in API costs, but charging me $60. And it's a short-term win, maybe, but for a long-term like relationship killer, like you'll lose your reputation. So what do you think? And this has been really interesting. I really appreciate your perspective as someone who really knows what they're talking about. What do you think is the first step a business should take when they're deciding if they should even use AI? Because so many people think, oh, restaurants need AI. And I'm like, why? It's not going to cook the food. It's not. I always think people always think restaurants are the best use for new tech. And I don't know why this is. They're like, oh, restaurants should do SMS. 10 years ago, restaurants should do SMS marketing. Then it was restaurants should do Facebook marketing, all these different things. And the biggest bump for any restaurant is if Guy Fieri shows up and does that TV show. That leads to a bump that can last for 10 or 20 years. That's not social media. That's not SMS. It's like just a guy who knows what he's talking about, eating the food and explaining what's going on and getting you excited. So often we think every business needs this. And I don't know why people think restaurants, but for a business that's self-assessing, they're going, hey, we've got 10 employees, we've got 50 employees, they're in that range. What should they do first as their very first step to approaching AI before they spend any money?
I want to do a gap analysis and find out where do we have inefficiencies? Where are our current employees just completely overburdened, overwhelmed, or really inefficient and not producing the way or the level that we think that they could or should be? And really understanding, go back to first principles and what does it take to run a successful business? Let's look at those areas. Are we hitting all of those at 100%? And if we're not, maybe those are an area that we can integrate in some sort of AI-based tool. And it may not even be AI-based. We just might have an opportunity for better automation and efficiency. Usually that's what we find to be the case. We just want to make sure that we aren't being completely left in the dust on the AI craze. So really just what are the gaps that we have in the business? And let's start addressing those. And for a lot of companies, I find that's a hard pill to swallow. It's not let me spend $20 or $200 a month on this tool and all of a sudden we're just amazingly efficient. Everything is fixed. Usually there's underlying problems that we actually have to address, and buying a vitamin isn't going to solve the pain that we have.
That you brought up overwhelm, because there's this approach to AI that is now you could do 10 more things. It's like now you can make AI videos and now you can do social media posts and now you can do things. So the promise of AI is that like you have more freedom and you can get more done in less time. But now we're just piling on tasks. And I see this a lot from solopreneurs and smaller entrepreneurs going, now I could do all these additional things. And I always say, focus on what you're already doing because you have the ability to error correct. If you've never made a viral post and the AI makes a post, you don't know if it's going to be viral or not because you've never done that. If you are not making videos already, you can't say this is a good or bad video because you don't have anything to compare against. So as soon as you move outside of your area of experience or area of excellence, you're going to start to see lower and lower quality, which is why, like you talked about, it's not about replacing people because we still need them in there as the quality control, as the manager. I see it as every employee can start to move a little bit into management. Now the AI does the task, but you check the work, you fix the work, and it gives you a rough draft. And it allows you to do your tasks a little better and lower those overwhelm levels. I really love that approach. I think that's really brilliant. And it's going to let all the employees go, okay, this person, because usually when employees hear consultant, they think downsizing. But if you go, my job is to lower everyone's overwhelm levels. And I do love that you brought up automation, because so often we think the solution is AI, and it's, oh, what if we just add in a very simple automation process, a simple thing that moved, with this happens, then this happens. And they go, I thought that's AI. And it doesn't have to be that complicated. So I really love that direction. I'm so tempted to do a double episode and go down automation. It's one of my favorite topics, but your time is so valuable. I really appreciate you being here. This has been an amazing episode. I really appreciate your perspective. Where can people find out more about you, connect with you online, and maybe see if you're the perfect fractional CTO to help them with their business growth?
LinkedIn is the best place to find me. Brian-Childress. I encourage everyone to reach out, send me a DM. I'm happy to connect over there.
Perfect. This was an amazing episode. I'll put that in the show notes and right below the video on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. Everyone, thank you for listening to an amazing episode of the Artificial Intelligence Podcast. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Starting with AI can be scary. ChatGPT Profits is not only a bestseller, but also the missing instruction manual to make mastering ChatGPT a breeze. Bypass the hard stuff and get straight to success with ChatGPT Profits. As always, I would love for you to support the show by paying full price on Amazon. We can get it absolutely free for a limited time at artificialintelligencepod.com/gift. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Artificial Intelligence Podcast. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. We'll be back next Monday with more tips and tactics on how to leverage AI to escape that rat race. Head over to artificialintelligencepod.com now to see past episodes, leave a review, and check out all of our socials.